Good afternoon and welcome to all joining us in this discussion. I am Kęstutis Damaskopoulos, the ERA Chair of the InfoRact project at the Kaunas University of Technology. The project, funded by the European Commission, explores the implications of Industry 4, the phenomenon of Industry 4 for management practices and economics. This is part of the first round of interviews of distinguished business and policy analysts, decision makers, and academics in Lithuania and internationally organized by the project on the current state of Industry 4. It is our great pleasure to have with us today Mr. Kęstutis Sabaliauskas, senior expert in the Industry 4 division at the Ministry of Economy and Innovation of Lithuania, to explore the current state of challenges of Industry 4 across Lithuanian economy, Lithuanian companies, and the Lithuanian economy. Good afternoon and welcome, Mr. Sabaliauskas.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here with us today. May I please begin this discussion with a fairly broad question. How would you assess the current state of Industry 4 across Lithuanian companies today?
Well, thank you very much for the introduction. I guess we have all sorts of companies in Lithuania today, and some companies are happy at the level of Industry 3.0. But if we are more general and if we continue the software title tradition of Industry 4.0, I believe we could say that we are somewhere at Industry 4.05, because in geographical neighborhood, Lithuania is a champion in this area. However, given the current situation, we could say that it is easier to become a champion than to maintain the leadership for an extended period of time. The analysis available at the moment are saying that Lithuania can get massive benefits from Industry 4.0, and we are not at the beginning. We are right in the middle of the process as Industry 4.0 starts to move towards Industry 5.0, where you begin to allow customers to customize what they want, and we are moving from digital manufacturing towards digital society. We have to admit, however, that so far we do not have any statistics on industry digitalization, but we are working on it. Lithuanian Innovation Center has made a proposal on a project where KPIs will be developed to measure the industrial digitalization process, which we will support by the interviews by a number of companies each year, and that will provide us with a realistic picture. So far, we are using the Digital Economy and Society Index, DESI, you may know it, according to which Lithuania is a part of EU medium performer countries in terms of digitization. In 2021, we were on the 14th place. The country performed well in terms of digital public services and connectivity, but it lags behind in human capital. The shortage of ICT specialists remains the most pressing issue. Lithuania is experiencing rapid GDP growth with an average growth of 4% in the last 3 years. Manufacturing plays an important role in this growth, contributing around 20% of GDP, for example, in 2020. Over the recent years, a lot has been done to stimulate the digitalization of economy by injecting companies with technological know-how and financial support. We have also encouraged companies in increasing their cooperation, sharing, and networking by facilitating operation of clusters and supporting digital innovation hubs. So shortly, that could be an answer to your question.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting to hear the Industry 4.5 that Lithuania is doing fairly well. We know some of that, and it's very pleasing to hear it also from you. I was wondering whether you can reflect a little bit on the current challenges faced in Lithuania moving forward? What would you consider to be some of the key challenges, difficulties, if you want, depending on how you want to phrase it?
The major current and upcoming challenges are relating in applying what we have achieved in digitalization to the green transformation of economy, the twin transition. That is, we are quite at home with everything digital, and we are like in a comfort zone. But there are new requirements, there are new trends, there are new, let me say, fashions, which are related to green transition also. And we have made some progress in digitalization, for example, and it was made by introducing political measures. In 2018, the then Ministry of Economy was reorganized into Ministry of Economy and Innovation. And I would like to say a few words about my department. Industry 4.0 Policy Division was established. In simple terms, what we do is we coordinate the digital activities in Lithuania. We try to listen to the real needs of the companies in Lithuania. And on the other hand, we participate in the relevant groups and programs of the European Commission, which identify new trends for the industry and develop the measures that could eventually bring financing to the Lithuanian companies. Speaking about strategic documents, if you speak about any project or whatever, so it starts with developing a plan, a strategy. So for Lithuanian digitalization, Lithuanian industry roadmap was developed for digitalization for 2020-2030. It was originally prepared in 2019, and then we had a major update at the end of 2020. The document provides a vision of the digitized Lithuanian industry in 2030, which is to become an industry leader in digitalization in a geographical territory within the regions covering Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and North Poland. And we also have aspirations to catch up with Finland, Sweden, and Denmark. Mm-hmm. To reach this vision, the major strategic pillars have been identified in the roadmap. First of all, it is knowledge. We consider technologies and business models that will become integrated through value chains. Then it is, of course, it is people, which is very important. And then another thing which is very important is infrastructure, especially demonstration infrastructure, research and development infrastructure, which will provide the best possible conditions for manufacturing innovation. And then, of course, it is environment, which concerns legal and regulatory environment standards and incentives system for the companies. When the question was about challenges, so as I have said, we feel more or less at home with digitalization, but then the challenges start when we come to implement the European real targets in industry, for example, circular economy, greening of the industry, which in the beginning, it does not seem very attractive to the companies and not very attractive to investors. So we tried to do some strategic planning around that, and hence the roadmap for Lithuania's transition to a circular economy was formulated, and we are still finalizing it, but it will be ready within maybe next month, I guess. And the roadmap for Lithuania's transition to circular economy will provide a working program of identifying new transformative production methods, and it will also envisage the ways how to decouple economic growth from extensive use of raw materials and industry resources. We also aim at increasing productivity, transition to climate neutral economy, creation of efficient secondary raw materials market and product design. So this is the vision of making the future economy greener, and also, but it will also be built on the basis of the innovations we have achieved through digitalization. Another roadmap we are working on is a roadmap for the preparation of Lithuanian industry for integration into European strategic value chains, because it is very important for Lithuanian companies to be able to use the potential opportunities and envisage industrial policy directions that would create more favorable conditions for the deeper integration of Lithuanian industry into strategic value chains. The purpose of this roadmap is to suggest a set of policy interventions that could foster the integration of the Lithuanian industry into European and global strategic value chains, and to explain how these suggested policy interventions can be implemented in practice.
Great, very detailed analysis. Thank you. You mentioned knowledge and people, and I was wondering whether you have any reflections on the skill sets that might be missing or being required in Lithuania. Are these mostly hard engineering kind of skills, or mostly what's the balance between hard skills, that is engineering and hard sciences, versus the soft part, which is basically social sciences, networks, and that kind of thing? Do you have any reflections on the current state of skills in Lithuania in terms of being prepared for Industry 4 initiatives?
Takis, unfortunately, skills are not my area. At the ministry, we have a dedicated division working on numerous programs and projects for skills development. Of course, it is a trend now to criticize the educational system, and it's very easy, especially if you are an outsider. I could say that the educational system in Lithuania seems somewhat traditional, whereas when we speak about Industry 4.0 technologies, they are disruptive, meaning they are very fast and very challenging. And of course, one could see that there is a gap programmed in this area. As if, to put it more vividly, it's as if one is taught to waltz when in real life he has to break dance, because everything is changing so fast. So that's it. I believe that professional guidance should be started as early as possible. I also believe in lifelong learning, for example.
Yeah, this is a wonderful metaphor: break dancing versus waltz dancing. Probably we need both, but you are absolutely right, in my view, in stressing the disruptive nature of the technologies and the new schemes emerging, economic schemes, and what does that mean for educational programs. I would like to go back to the question of policy, and I was wondering whether you can elaborate a little bit on what do you see as being, what do you see as the key element of policy? I wouldn't call it intervention, but let's say support in the transition to Industry 4. Would you identify some areas as being critical in terms of government support in the transition to Industry 4?
I think policy is certainly very important, because policy is something that eventually brings financial support to the companies. However, the policy is a lot of talking if you do not have a mechanism or tool how to implement the political decisions and guidelines into action. So what we have at the ministry is Industry 4.0 competitiveness platform, which was established in 2017. It consists of high-level competitiveness commission chaired by the Minister of Economy and Innovation, coordination group, and 6 working groups. So it's we call it Industry 4.0 platform, but maybe it would be easier to envisage that as a pyramid, because do we start from the top or from the bottom? Because here we tried to implement the bottom up approach. At the bottom we have 6 working groups, and these groups consist of experts in various fields, but these experts are coming from the industry. And this helps us to get the real understanding what are the problems in the industry and what the industry really needs to develop and to achieve the Industry 4.0 ideals, we could say. So these groups there are 6 of them, and these groups are digital production, services promoting digitization, human resources, standardization and legal regulation, cybersecurity, and circular economy. So we discuss with these groups. These groups make proposals. We bring them to a higher level, which is coordination group. We discuss, for example, all the roadmaps I mentioned, all the documents have been discussed by the working groups and especially by the coordination group, which is made of high-level stakeholders on the level of, we also invite, on the level of vice ministers, we also invite not only industry representatives into these discussions, but also stakeholders from other ministries, so that we develop motivated and consolidated proposals, which we then bring up for Commission's approval in case there is some major political decision or like approval of the strategic documents related to development of industry.
Thank you. A final question. Looking forward, are there any, in your view, are there any areas that Industry 4 as a concept and as a strategy is not addressing, or challenges that it is not taken into consideration up to now? And which are these? As you probably know, I'm sure you know, there is an Industry 5 discussion already going on. And it seems that there is some gaps that perhaps the original concept of Industry 4 was not properly addressing, there was not enough balance. Would you care to give us a little bit of your views on that?
Yes, if we speak about Industry 5.0, there are a lot of definitions and a lot of ways people see on how to develop it. But to sum up, I think it's one of these is customization of products, where the factories are not producing, say, very much serial things, but they are producing things customized for needs of separate customer groups. And then there is some people define it as more moving from digital production to a more digitalized society, the welfare of society. And the third input would be again greening of the industry and greening of society habits. So in this, I could name a great challenge again, like circular economy, and yeah, there is for that we developed, because when we speak about the circular economy of greening, it is just speech. If it seems in the beginning it's just like politics. So we have developed a project called Industry for Zero Lab, which will be dedicated specifically to spread technologies, spread the news or diffuse the news about circular economy. And the result of this project will be 2 or 3 virtual simulation labs where the companies are able to check, or as we could say, test before invest various technologies related to circular economy. And we were successful in including this project into Recovery and Resilience Facility. And this project will, I could say, employ European digital innovation hubs as vehicles for implementation. And in this case, I should mention that in Lithuania, we have 18 digital innovation hubs of differing levels of maturity, which are registered in European DIH catalog, which major in the areas robotics, lasers, smart manufacturing, whatever, even audiovisual solutions. A digital innovation hub is defined as helping companies in the region to become more competitive by improving their business production processes, as well as products and services by means of digital technologies. So we have 18 digital innovation hubs in Lithuania. And then we started the discussion with European Commission in 2018. Rather, it started discussion with the member states about setting up a network of European digital innovation hubs. And they also developed what we know now as Digital Europe program. And European digital innovation hubs will play a central role in Digital European program to stimulate the broad uptake of artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, and cyber security, as well as other digital technologies. And especially this project is directed towards small and medium companies and the public sector in the whole of Europe. The keyword here is networking. There will be a network of digital innovation hubs spread geographically and by competences all over Europe. And I could say that Lithuania has been an active participant in the development of EDIH concept and related documents from the very beginning of the discussions of this program. We have also performed a candidate selection process in Lithuania based on the requirements of the Digital European program. And back in 2020, we have already provided European Commission with a list of 3 designated candidates, and the selection process is expected to be finalized in May 2022. The candidates, as I mentioned, they're expected to demonstrate a high level of competences in 3 main areas of artificial intelligence, HPC, and cybersecurity, and also cover the knowledge in countries' smart specialization strategy. And the basic areas for support to these companies will include test before invest, skills training, help in finding financing, and creation of ecosystem and networking. So I think that at least in part I answer your question, and I would like to mention I was speaking a lot about the strategic documents. And these documents, for example, the Lithuanian Industry Digitalization Roadmap for 2020-2030 is available at our ministry's webpage. As soon as the other 2 roadmaps are finalized, which I hope happens even next month, They will be placed also on the ministry's webpage, and I invite you to use these documents. Maybe they will bring us to further questions. Maybe we will identify further challenges, and maybe we will find how to turn these challenges into opportunities.
I would really like to continue to go on and drill in further into these issues, but unfortunately our time is running out. I want to thank you for a very thorough view on what is actually the status of Industry 4 in Lithuania. So please allow me to conclude by saying a grand thank you to you for your time, your insights, and experience, or sharing your experience on the status of Industry 4 in Lithuania. I trust it will be useful for all decision makers and other specialists who are watching us. And I can assure you it will be your insights will be extremely valuable to the research community of Kaunas University of Technology, especially the people involved in Industry 4. Again, thank you very much for your time, your availability, and consideration of these questions.
My pleasure, Takis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kęstutis.